Comparing two lists is one of the most common tasks I come across in Excel. You may want to see records in only one of the two lists, or common records in both of them. I am Nabil Murad. In this tutorial, I show you a stunning way for comparing lists in a smooth, dynamic, creative method. Let's see the finished project. In this workbook, I have patients' data from a diagnostic imaging clinic. The table on the left shows the name of patients who had an X-ray. The one on the right shows the names of patients who had an ultrasound. Some of the names are common in both tables. I want to be able to compare these two tables and extract the names of patients who had an X-ray only, or extract the names of patients who had an ultrasound only, or extract the names of patients who had both an X-ray and an ultrasound. I go to the Compare worksheet where I created my solution, and here I can see a list of patients who had X-ray only. I have 14 patients, and if I want to see the patients who had both X-ray and ultrasound, I just click on the right pointing arrow of this scroll bar, and I see that 7 patients had both X-ray and ultrasound. If I want to see those patients who had the ultrasound only, I click one more time on the right pointing arrow, and these are the patients who had ultrasound only. I have a column chart to the right side that compares the numbers, and I can easily move from one list to the other list to the first list, comparing the two tables and showing me the different options. I also created some conditional formatting, linking it to the source data, so those patients who had X-ray only appear in green and correspond to the green column in the column chart. The patients having both diagnostic imaging are in blue, and they match the blue column in the column chart. And finally, those patients who had only ultrasound appear in orange, matching the orange column of the column chart. If more records are added to the source data, then my report updates on the fly. And then if I scroll down, I have more records. I'm going to select all the records in green, Control Asterisk, and I'm going to cut them and paste them just below the table. They become part of the table. This is called Table Auto Expansion. I select a single cell from the orange record, Control Asterisk to select all of them, and then I'm going to drag them and drop them below the original record. They become part of the table. Let's go to the Compare worksheet and look. My chart updates on the fly. All the numbers change. And if I use my scroll bar to see the list of patients having both tests, the numbers update. And if I go to the list of patients having only the X-ray, the number of patients updates on the fly. Now let's create our project from ground up in Excel. Here is my start file. You can download the exercise file and follow along by clicking on the link below this video. In this worksheet, I have two tables. The table to the left shows a list of names of patients who had an X-ray. The one to the right shows a list of patients who had the ultrasound. Some of the patients are in common between the two tables. I named the first table X-ray, I named the second one ultrasound, and now I would like to extract the records that are available in table number 1, the X-ray table, and are not available in table number 2. Then I would like to extract the records in common between the two tables, and finally I'll be extracting the records from the ultrasound table that are not available in the X-ray table. There are different ways of doing that, either by using classic function or by using Power Query, but today I'm going to do it by using dynamic array functions. Dynamic array functions are available in Microsoft 365. I start by selecting cell L3, and it's a very simple X-match function. The X-match by default is returning an exact match, and it requires only 2 arguments to work. I'm going to type equal X match, and then I hit tab. I want to look at the names in the X-ray table. I hover over the name column. Where I see the black down pointing arrow, I click to select this entire range, and I want to compare it. I want to match it to the name column in the ultrasound table. I hover over the name column, and then I click to select the entire column, and that's all what I need to do. When I close the bracket and then hit enter, whenever I get an NA, that means the name in the X-ray table doesn't exist in the ultrasound table. Whenever I get a number, that means the name is common between both tables. For this first function, where I want to extract the names available in the X-ray table only, then I want the records returning an NA. Then I'm going to wrap my XMatch function in an isNA function. While if I want both records, I will wrap it in an isNumber record. This will return a bunch of trues and false. Then I select the first function because the function lives only in the first cell and it spills in the adjacent cells, and I put it in the edit mode F2, and I want to wrap my XMatch function in an isNA function. Then I type isNA and then I hit tab. I close the bracket at the end, and then I hit enter, and I get a bunch of trues and false. Whenever I have a true, that simply means the record is available in the X-ray table only. I want to extract all the record, then I need a filter function that will wrap the isNA and the XMatch function. I put my function one more time in the edit mode F2. Before the isNA, I type filter, and then I hit the tab key. What would you like to filter? I want to filter the entire X-ray table. I hover over the upper left corner. When I see the black rotated arrow, I click to select the entire table. I type a comma, I click at the very end, and I close the bracket for the filter function. I hit enter, and I was able to extract the records from the X-ray table that are not available in the ultrasound table. Should you wish to sort them, then you wrap the filter function in a sort function as well. I put it in the edit mode, and before the filter function, I'll be typing sort. I hit the tab key, and at the end I close the bracket for the sort function, and I get an alphabetical listing of the records available in the X-ray table but not available in the ultrasound table. Now, if you want to extract the records available in both tables, then we are concerned about the numbers returned from the XMatch function. Then I can simply change the isNA to isNumber. So let's copy this function. I will need it later. I'm selecting cell L3. I put it in the edit mode F2, and I want to open the Office clipboard to copy. I'm opening the Office clipboard, and I'll be copying this entire sort, filter, isNA, XMatch function, and I'll be reusing it over and over again. I select it, I hit copy, and now I can see it in the Office clipboard. Let's close the Office clipboard to make more room. I hit escape. Now I want the records that are common between the X-ray and the ultrasound. Then I'm selecting cell Q3. I type an equal sign and I paste Control V. All what I need to do is to change the isNA with an isNumber function. Then I type isNumber. I hit the tab key and then I hit enter. I was able to extract all the records. Let me expand the three columns to see the entire record, and these are the records common between the two tables. Now I want the records available in the ultrasound table without a match in the X-ray table. Then I need to make two changes in my first function. It is still in the Office clipboard. I type an equal sign and I paste. And the first thing I want to do, I'm not filtering the X-ray table. Then I select the first argument of the filter function and I want to change it. This time I'm filtering the ultrasound table. The second change, I want to switch the arguments of the XMatch function. Then I select the first argument with the comma of the XMatch function, and I click before the closing bracket of the XMatch function, and here I want to select the name column of the X-ray. I type a comma, and then I go to the X-ray table, and I select the name column. When I see the black down pointing arrow, I click to select the entire column, and I would have modified my function. When I hit enter, I get the list of names who had an ultrasound but did not have an X-ray. I want to copy the second and third function I already have in the Office clipboard, the first one, to start building our project. Then I open the Office clipboard one more time, and then I select cell Q3, I put it in the edit mode F2, and I want to select this entire function by clicking on the copy command. I would have saved it to the Office clipboard. I hit escape, and I do the same for the third function, which returned the names available in the second table, the ultrasound table. I put my function in the edit mode, and then I want to select this entire function without the equal sign. I copy it and I have it in the Office clipboard. I hit escape and I finished with this worksheet, at least for now. I close the Office clipboard and I go to the compare worksheet where I'll be creating my project. I start by creating a scroll bar, and this requires having the developer tab of the ribbon. If you don't have it, then right-click on any tab and select Customize the ribbon and check the box for developer. I already have it, then I'm going to hit cancel. I click on the developer tab, and in the controls group, I click on the down arrow for insert and I select a scroll bar active X control. The mouse pointer changes to a crosshair, then I'm going to click and drag and create my control. I want to adjust some properties, then I click on the Properties command on the Developer tab. Then the Properties dialog box opens. I want to link this control to cell E1, so for the linked cell, I click in this box and I type E1. And I want to set the min and max for the values of this control. I'm going to set the max to 3 because I just have 3 options, either in list 1 or in both of them or in list 2. These are 3 options. And I want to set the minimum to 1. When I close this box, now I see that my control is returning 1. I turn off the design mode to test, so when I click on the right pointing arrow, it's returning 2, then it's returning 3, and that's excellent. I want to bring it back to 1. When my control is returning 1, I want the records that are available in the X-ray table only. When it returns 2, I want the records that are common in both tables. When it returns 3, I want the records in the ultrasound table that are not available in the X-ray table. These are the 3 functions we created in the data worksheet, and I copied and saved these functions in the Office clipboard. Now I'm going to wrap all of them in a switch function. The switch function will look at cell E1. If in E1 I have number 1, then it will be returning the first function. If I have number 2, it will be returning the second one. If it has number 3, it will be returning the third function. Then I'm going to expand the Office clipboard. I go to the Home tab, click on the Office clipboard, and here I see the 3 functions. And in cell A5, I start creating my switch function. Equal switch, and then I hit the tab key. And the switch function will be looking at cell E1. Then I type E1, I type a comma, and if the value for E1 reads 1, then in this case I type a comma and I paste the first function. I type a comma and I say if it's returning 2. I type a comma, and in this case I want the second function. Then I type another comma and I say if E3 is returning number 3, then in this case I type a comma and I want the third function, and I close the bracket for the switch function. So the switch function will be returning one single function out of the 3 functions we created based upon the number returned from the scroll bar. I close the Office clipboard, and when I hit enter, I get the list of names for the patients who had an X-ray only but did not have an ultrasound. Before moving my scroll bar on top of cell E1, I want to test it. So if I click on the right pointing arrow, these are the list of names common between the 2 tables. If I click one more time, then I get the list of names from the ultrasound table. We need to fine-tune our project The first thing I want to do is to go to the Developer tab, turn on the design mode, select my control, and move it on top of cell E1 to hide it completely. Then I'm controlling my project just from the scroll bar. I turn on the design mode. I'm going to switch to list number 1. And I would like to create a dynamic label that counts the number of records and tells me from which table these records are coming. In preparation for creating my dynamic label, I'm going to hide some columns, right click and hide, and I'm going to unhide 2 columns in which I prepared for creating my dynamic label. I have number 1, 2, 3. Then I'll be using X-ray only or both X-ray and ultrasound or ultrasound only in my dynamic label. How do I do this? I'm going to combine 2 functions and a string of text. I'm selecting cell A3 and I'll type equal rows. The rows function will count how many rows are returned from the dynamic array function in cell A5. I select cell A5, and because I want to count all the names, then I type the spilled array symbol Shift-3 on my keyboard, and I close the bracket for the rows function. When I hit enter, it says you have 14 records. I want to continue building my dynamic label. I put my function in the edit mode by hitting F2, and I want to join the rows function to a string of text. So I type an AND symbol, Shift-7 on your keyboard, the joining operator of Excel, and in double quote I type a space, and then I type patients, head, and another space, and I close the double quotation. Then I'm going to join it to another function. Then I type a second joining operator, Shift-7, and I'll be using an XLOOKUP function. So I type XLOOKUP. The XLOOKUP function will look at cell E1, the number returned from the scroll bar, and then I type a comma. What's your lookup array? My lookup array will be the 3 cells in column P, and then I type a comma. I want to return a value from column Q. Then I select the 3 cells in column Q, and I close the bracket for the XLOOKUP function. When I hit enter, then I get 14 patients had X-ray only. You might have noticed I have a conditional formatting in row 3 and row 4 that colors the labels and the column header in green, blue, or orange according to the selected option in a way that it matches the source data. Now let's test. If I click on the right pointing arrow, 7 patients had both X-ray and ultrasound. If I click one more time, then 17 patients had ultrasound only. I would like to hide these 2 columns one more time, so I select P and Q, right click and then hide. I want to unhide the previous columns, right click and unhide. And now I want to represent these values by creating a column chart. And this column chart will compare the number of records between the 3 options, and it will update automatically whenever there is a change in the source data. In preparation for doing this, I'm going to unhide columns S and T, right click and unhide. And here I have the 3 options, X-ray, both, or ultrasound, and I wrap the 3 functions in a rows function. The rows function will take each one of these functions corresponding to the 3 options, and it will return the number of records. I want to use this little setup for creating a column chart. I select any single cell. I hit the shortcut Alt F1 to create my column chart. I'm going to format my column chart and change the colors of the different columns. I finished formatting my column chart, and now I would like to test. So I have 14 patients who had X-ray only, and I can see the green column in the column chart. And if I click on the right pointing arrow of the scroll bar, I have a list of patients who had both X-ray and ultrasound, and it matches the blue column of the column chart. If I click one more time, I have 17 patients who had ultrasound only, and it matches the orange column of the column chart. What if I go to the source data and make a change? The 14, 7, and 17 are going to reflect that change. I click on the data sheet and I have more records to add. I select the extra records for the X-ray table. I hit Control *, I hover over the border, and then I drag the records and add them to the first table. I do the same for the second table. Select a single cell, Control asterisk, drag the records and add them to the source table. Let's go back to the compare worksheet and automatically my column chart updates. If you want to extract a different list, then you just click on the scroll bar and conditional formatting is dynamic. Remember, amazing solutions don't necessarily need to be complicated. And we finished creating our project. And if you enjoyed this training video, give it a thumbs up and make sure you subscribe to my channel to be notified when new tutorials are released. The best is yet to come. Thanks for watching and see you next time.